Hello, everyone, and no, there is not going to be an opening cough like I have for my shorts videos. Welcome to the Mainstream Indie Music channel. This week, we are going to talk about a band very special to me. I'm sure very special to you if you are watching this video as well. OK Go, an alternative band. I would say maybe an indie band, but that one gets a little bit tricky, but definitely alternative. Many people might not know them by name, but if you mention, they were the ones that were dancing a choreographed dance on treadmills in the opening, really years of YouTube, then that would be it. But we've already done on this channel a whole video on the Here It Goes Again music video. And so if you want to check that out, I would definitely encourage you to. This video is pretty much going to be what led up to that moment of them recording that music video, and then what OK Go has done ever since that music video happened, because, that was a long time ago now. Sad to say, for those of us in our 30s, mid-30s, and 40s onward, it seems like just yesterday you were seeing that music video blow up, but it's been a long time. So, again, begs the question, what has OK Go been doing ever since that video came out? And that's what we will talk about today. But before we begin, let's go into the early days of OK Go. What got them in that position in the first place? OK Go really starts and ends with their lead singer Damien and their bass player Tim. Don't get me wrong, the other guys are just as important, but them two started off the band, literally even naming it. They met in a summer camp when they were only 11, 12 years old, and the name OK Go even comes from one of their teachers who, it's kind of funny, they claim that the teacher was as high as a kite and would time their art projects by literally continuing to utter the phrase OK Go all the time. So a pretty funny beginning story. And they knew from a young age that they wanted to be musicians, that they wanted to make music. However, it's kind of like they still had a balance. They still, of course, finished high school, and they even went into and finished college as well. But almost in the back of their minds, they knew that music was the passion that they had to search for. Eventually in high school, and then as I mentioned, they had gone to college, they met other bandmates, Andy and Dan, and decided to form the quartet under that OK Go name. Now, at the time, they were living in Chicago and decided to kind of go up through the city of Chicago, touring constantly nonstop and trying to grow their band name by pretty much consistent and unending touring. Now, in the beginning, OK Go decided to take a chance with major record labels, signing with EMI and Capitol Records. They saw it at the time to kind of be the logical choice. It makes sense. If you wanted to get the biggest and fastest growth as a band and give yourself the biggest chance to make it, why not sign with one of the biggest labels? In so doing, the label company pushed their band out very, very quickly. In fact, in the early 2000s, they really took the angle of not only of their constant touring on stage, but with the usage of video game soundtracks. I remember, myself, especially, that's when I first heard OK Go, even before Here It Goes Again. They were on several different video games of mine at the time. And that's the angle that the record company took. And it paid off for them. Their debut album was pretty big. They got a lot of hits off of it. They were modest hits, to be fair. They weren't, huge ones. They weren't, probably mentioned in some of the biggest bands of the early 2000s. But, hits like Get Over It and Don't Ask Me were everywhere. And that kind of led perfectly to their second album. This second album is really when their creativity was starting to show, with the help of Damien's sister. If you don't know that story, again, please check out the video that I have for their song Here It Goes Again. But they decided to get creative, not only with their videos like, Here It Goes Again, but A Million Ways, another hit off of their album. They decided to do something pretty cool where, working along with Apple Music, they would download the song, and if they shared the song with others, it would become a free download. It's kind of overshadowed by Here It Goes Again, but A Million Ways also had its own dance as well. I thought I'd just kind of mention that. It's kind of cool, because definitely Here It Goes Again, takes the cake as being the biggest single. I don't know why I use that phrase, but but it wins the crown. It wins the award of OK Go being their biggest single. But A Million Ways had its own choreographed dance too. And that leads to their third album, which is, personally, being a little biased, my favorite one. Of the Blue Color of the Sky was released, being their third album. And this is when they kind of went all in on music videos. They wanted to, kind of go all out. And This Too Shall Pass, had not even one, but two unique, different music videos for it. It was just awesome. You think of Needing and Getting, where they're driving an obstacle course with guitars, with different instruments of sound, with them playing it outside of their window. It's so hard to describe, but it's so awesome. You think of White Knuckles music videos, featuring dogs. They just really went all out. And this is really, I believe, when OK Go found their identity. They knew now what they wanted to do, mix art with their music videos. They wanted to do things different. They didn't want to keep doing just like the tour record shtick over and over and over again. They found their art, and in so doing, they dumped their record label. So they almost did the opposite. They were sick of being with the major players. They dumped them because they felt like they were being taken, not only them, but many bands were being taken advantage of by major record companies, and they struck out on their own. Hungry Ghosts was then released in 2014, and again, you're continuing the same pattern. You got a zero gravity thing. You got one of those music videos where it follows like the domino effect. I always forget, or I mispronounce the name of what that music video means. You got one where the whole video was shot in a total of about 5 seconds, and then the time lapse was stretched out to match their song perfectly. It's so hard to explain, but just so awesome. Their fifth album, And the Adjacent Possible, was released in 2024, which they have been on tour for it ever since. And that's OK Go. An artist that really just kind of left the normal music world behind for creativity and wanting to express it in their music videos. Normally, I would have the Iceberg photo up and kind of ranking them in the indie chart, but for some reason, it's failing to load. So what do you guys think of OK Go? Let me know in the comments, and see y'all next week.